Let's talk about some new products from Devinah. These launched during Black Friday, but I did really want to test these products out, especially because we have eyeshadow primers from Devinah Cosmetics. How exciting is this? I've been waiting for this day. We have a shimmer primer, and then we have also like a regular eyeshadow primer for your mattes, etc. They also launched a set of eye brushes, especially smaller size brushes for hooded eyes. Here they are. If you want to see in-depth explanations for each use of the brush and kind of how Deandra, the owner of Devinah, decided on these shapes, make sure you watch her live video that she did when she first announced these. Super, super helpful. I will link it down in the description box. And then lastly, there's also an eyeshadow palette from Devinah. Yes, here it is, Phantasia. It is unicorn themed. Each of these shades have been named based on names that Deandra thought would be good names, fitting names for unicorns. So here is the color story. It is a little bit more on the pastel side, 4 mattes and 4 shimmers, and these are removable pans. As you can see, the little notch, so you can just take these out and still add these to your singles collection, etc. As of right now, and I'm not sure if forever, but these are only available as a bundle, and this palette does retail for $77, and codes do work. Mine is Millie20, and it is non-affiliated, but it will bring this down to $61 and some change. As I bought it during the Black Friday sale, this was a doorbuster price, so I believe it was around $40-50 or something like that. And then the brushes are $60 for the bundle of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then each of the eyeshadow primers are $10, or you can get them as a bundle for $20. And I do believe everything else is also code eligible. And I will be showing you each of the brushes next to my eye so you can get a good size relationship to an eye. And I personally find it really helpful to see the relationship. So I'm going to be showing you some swatch comparisons to the shimmers, and then I will be creating 2 looks, and I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. So let's get right into it. D105, D107, D104, D103, D109, D102, D108, D101, D106, D110. First time using a Devinah eyeshadow primer. I don't know how much to use yet, so we're just gonna have to kind of trial and error this a little bit. Probably could have used a little bit less. Taking the Devinah 109 brush, picking up Estrella, and it's gonna go right onto the inner portion of my lid, and then up into my crease a little bit. And I'm gonna bring it about halfway on my lid. This would make a really beautiful blush, actually. I really think that would be a good one for that. And then taking Cassius on this eye, had a bit of fallout. This one is super, super powdery. Probably because it's more like a pastel. And I'm gonna bring that underneath my lower lash line. A little bit of fallout from that shade for sure on my lashes probably too. And I'm just gonna take that out here. Taking the D104 brush and Lucius, and I'm gonna pop that onto the inner lid. I was kind of hoping this would bring a little bit more depth, and I'm just popping that on the outer corner as well. It's pretty loosely pressed. It's very powdery in the pan. And I'm just gonna go back to the large brush And I'm gonna blend it out here. So I do feel like that didn't really add the depth that I was looking for. I'm gonna take the peach shade underneath my lower lash line down here. Ever having this much kick up and just seeing the powder go up when I'm putting these on with previous Devinah shadows that I've used. So I don't know if that's just something new and it's because of the shade. Taking the D105 brush and popping that tacky primer right in the center of my lid. I'm just kind of tapping it on. And I'm picking up the peach shimmer shade. Ooh, yes. So pretty. Oh, that's so stunning. That is such a beautiful Devinah shade. On to the second look. I'm going to put on a little bit less primer. I could probably use one of the brushes, actually, to spread this out. So let me do that. I feel like this brush, the 107, looks like it would be really great for that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to use it for that. Just get all up in there. Picking up Magnus, there's quite a bit of pickup and kick up in the pan. And I'm going to pop that right into the outer corner. I do want to try to go in with a deeper shade and then build onto it rather than build this on top of the matte shade. It's probably just going to be working out a little bit better. And then I'm going to go in with the peach. And I'm going to take that onto the edges of that. Like so. I definitely think that that worked out a lot better. But still, I feel like the shade is just not really giving me too much depth. Wipe off the brush and I'm just going to go in with a little bit more of the peach shade. I'm going to take the same brush and the periwinkle. Since they're in the palette, it's not really easy to try to remember the names of them. So I'm just going to take that up into the crease. And then I'm going to put down some of the primer using the 110 brush and the primer. I'm just going to pop that all over the lid essentially. And I'm taking Amber Rain and popping that onto the outer portion. Oh, that's so stunning and so easily applied with this brush on top of the tacky primer. And then taking the same brush and popping Frostbane onto the inner portion of my lid. So sparkly and ethereal. This would be a great, both of these shades would be a great one and done kind of shadow. I'm going to use the same shade as the inner corner highlight. Here's the second finished look. So first let's talk about the eyeshadow primers. Love this shimmer primer. Absolutely love it so much. I have had no creasing using this so far. I've used it quite a few times. I've used it with these shimmers from the Phantasia palette as well as other shimmers. Love. It is definitely similar to the NYX glitter primer, but I think this one's better and you need the tiniest amount. That being said, there is 15 milliliters or 0.88 fluid ounces. And it does say on the back that this is a 6-month shelf life. This is a lot of product for sure. And I do eye looks a lot. I don't always use a glitter primer. So I'm not really sure if I will be able to use this up in the 6-month mark. Now, obviously, most of us do use products past their prime or past this little icon for sure. So maybe after 6 months, you might see the efficacy of this going down a little bit. I'm not sure. I will have to see once I thoroughly try this and have this for 6 months. And the same goes for the eye base primer. This one, I'm not 100% sure if I love it. I really prefer eyeshadow primers that do cancel out some of the veininess that are on my lids because my skin is apparently completely almost transparent there and I can see my veins a lot. Not really a big deal when I do neutral shadows, and I do tend to wear these kinds of matte-ish eyeshadow primers when I do go into the office and I need like good 12 hours of wear, or at least try to have good 12 hours of wear. So I think this is a great non-creasy eyeshadow primer. That being said, like many of these similar kinds of formulas, I don't think that every kind of formula of matte eyeshadow blends the best on these or layers the best on these. I don't find the blending with this primer to be particularly kind of like the best. Now, I first noticed that with using the mattes that are in this palette. These mattes mattes are very, very powdery, and because of that, I feel like they're a little bit more like a wash of color. So even the deeper mattes in here, these two shades, didn't quite layer for me, and especially on this kind of base, when you use a lighter matte from one of the like the purple or the orange with the deeper matte, they just didn't want to layer, and I think you could see that in my tutorial portion. So since I'm on the topic of the mattes in here, I have quite a few Devinah mattes. I have some that I bought actually 5 years ago, and those are a bit more kick-uppy and powdery, and they were when I first got them, but then I got some newer shades in the recent couple of years, and I don't feel like they're the same consistency as these. I don't think they're this powdery, and they do lay down a little bit more. I did try the mattes on the P. Louise primer because that one is a little bit tacky, and I definitely had a better time building up, especially the deeper shades, but even then, I just wish they were even more pigmented. So I think that you're going to enjoy these mattes if you like to do a lot of looks where you use one matte in the crease, maybe one on the outer corner, or you just like to use one matte in the crease completely and put a shimmer on top. I think you will have a good time, but personally, not my favorite mattes. I definitely struggled a little bit with these, and I have tried quite a few mattes, so of course it is possible that it is user error. So onto the shimmers. Beautiful Devinah shimmer shadows. I love their shimmer shadows so much. These are all very beautiful and smooth, super easy to use. You will not see any sort of skin accentuation, and I love the assortment of colors, and I love to see more of these kinds of shades as well as this kind of shade. I think these are great addition to the Devinah lineup, and also love these with a shimmer primer. For sure you will have no fallout whatsoever. So let's talk about the brushes. I do enjoy quite a few of these shapes for sure. Some of these shapes are not necessarily something I see myself using a lot, and I think it really comes down to preference. I am extremely picky with brushes. For sure, I feel like there's certain brands that I just have that I just gravitate towards. I really reach for the most, and then there's some brushes that I just don't really gravitate toward. So let's talk about some of these shapes. I do really love the shape of D103. Really tiny. I mean, you can just see it's so tiny. It is a great shape. And then there's also this pencil brush. Love this one as well. Really good for inner corner, under the lower lash line, and also detailed work. This one right here is the D102, also a great smaller kind of brush to go underneath your lower lash line or in detailed work, etc. D104 is a bigger sister of the other brush that I just showed you. Love that one as well. Now there's this brush right here, the D106. I don't find myself using these kinds of brushes too much because I feel like they're so short, but they are great for underneath the lower lash line, but I feel like I can use some of these other brushes for that. You could also use these for shimmer placement, but again, it's just so short that you're really not going to cover a lot of area. So it's probably for like more strategic shimmer placement. D105 is great for placing down a lot of shimmer, covering a large area. It is not 100% my preferred kind of shape to apply shimmer shadow because it is rather wide, and I like something that does taper in just a little bit so that I can bring it from the innermost corner all the way out. And then this is another flat brush. This is the D110 brush. So it's a little bit similar, and it does have a rounder top a little bit. So this was also good for shimmers. And then the D109 is the largest, fluffier kind of blending brush. So this one is like almost a little too large for my preference. And then these two brushes, the 107 and 108, I feel like these kind of stumped me. These are not really kind of brush shapes that I tend to use. And I actually found myself kind of trying to figure out how to use them in like the way I like to apply eyeshadow. So again, I feel like if you're used to this kind of brush, this is going to be great, but I feel like if you're not really used to this kind of brush, you might have to kind of see like how do you like to use it for yourself personally on your eye shape. So this one is really nice for actually going like this, and then also going like this, but again, I can kind of use a smaller, more tapered blending brush to do those things. And then the D107, kind of similar thing, but it is a little bit smaller, so it is a little bit shorter and a little bit thinner, so kind of similar, but I did just end up using this to apply shimmers as well. I didn't really feel like I had a purpose for it in the way that I like to apply eyeshadow. Now, I wanted to talk about the bristles on these because these are not the softest bristles. I did wash them and I feel like they softened up a little bit, but I do feel like some of these are a little bit on the prickly side, which is not my favorite. I do feel like there's a little bit of tugging, and that's usually pretty common for synthetic kind of brushes. And I found because of the texture of these brushes that they were actually making eyeshadow blend away. So going back to the earlier things that I said about the mattes and the primer, I feel like it was also because I was using these brushes, because I did find that when I used my regular brushes from Rougher, etc., that I had a little bit different experience applying these really powdery mattes. I have tried quite a few different kinds of synthetic brushes, and I just feel like these are not the softest. These are not really on par par in kind of even mimicking natural hairbrushes and just being really soft and a little less draggy on the lid. So I feel like while I enjoy some of these shapes, and I definitely see myself using a lot of these for applying shimmer shadows. Guys, let me know in the comments below if you picked up the brushes. What do you think of them? I would love to hear your thoughts, as well as the palette and the eyeshadow primers. And that's everything for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.